I would like to call the meeting to order at 6:30. I have some adds to the agenda under, unfinished business F, field transfer. And we will have probably 2 executive sessions. I don't expect there will be any vote on them at the end of the meeting, so when we go into executive session, you're welcome to call it a night. Thank you. Anybody else have any other ads that they need to put on the agenda?
Maybe under communications, I got a letter from a teacher supporting that tuition.
So that, we can put that under the tuition reduction request, under new business,
yeah.
although it's really old business. We're finishing up old business
Yeah.
as well, so, anyway.
It's actually to the board,
Okay.
so I'll give it to you.
Okay. I
We saw this.
forwarded
that.
this to the board. We got it as well.
You got it.
So I have forwarded that to the board. Great. Actually, so let's approve the minutes and then we can get into that whole communications.
Move to approve the minutes of November 27th, 2018.
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you, Jody. All those in favor of approving the minutes of November 27th signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? The ayes have it. Communications. Anybody? So let me go over the ones I forwarded to make sure you all got that. I got a tuition transfer request for a student who is at BAMS and wants to stay there. I forwarded a letter from a parent, from a teacher in the school in support of a student who is seeking tuition waiver from us. I got a letter also. Emily and I received a letter from Leslie at Dummerston Cares Fisherman, talking, which I believe I forwarded to you all today, talking about putting together the parenting forums, community forums on screen use. Did you get that, Jody?
Yeah, Emily has a stomach bug.
Yes, Emily's not with us because she's not feeling well. I forwarded that. Oh, it's part of that.
It's part of that,
It's part of
okay.
that.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to
Because
look
I
at
expected Emily
these.
to bring that up because I was just CC'd on it, but then when
Okay.
Emily was sick, I forwarded it to everybody.
Okay.
In addition, I had a communication from Chloe Leary, which I'm not sure if I forwarded to everybody, but it's about pre-K, so I'll talk about it when we discuss pre-K. I also had a communication from Zach Grover, and they have, so it's nice, 3 Dummerston graduates, Zach Grover, his sister Kristen Grover Glayback, and Ted Glayback of Grover Services and Glayback Land Management did all that brush hogging all along the road there. It was, that's how they spent their Sunday, so it's really great to have
What's it called? What was it? Never mind.
Glayback Land Management.
Yep. There
Yep.
was a joke that used to go around with that.
So Grover Services and Glayback,
They really took it down.
they really took it down, so, I mean, I think
We
it'll.
need some trees now.
Well, I don't think, yeah, we can discuss that maybe in the spring, and see what the budget allows, but he just wanted to knock it back, and stuff will grow, believe me, stuff grows back in Vermont, at least at this juncture in global warming, so.
And the
you
soccer
know.
balls are gonna be on Route 5.
Well, at least kids won't be getting into ticks on there, so they'll be that, but after
It looks
after the
nice.
spring, it'll fix it all up. Nope, that's it. Any other communications?
I think I sent the SU budget around to people. Did they get that?
Yeah,
And
thank you.
I think I also sent answers to the questions
Yes,
that have
you
been
did. Thank
asked
you.
previously. Also by email to board members. Did everybody get those? Good.
Oh.
Yes.
Because there was another quick question about the snowmobile pathway.
Oh yeah, I got a communication from a local parent and snowmobile club member, asking about access along the fields. And the confusion was they put up their signs around this time of the year, and the signs that they had previously put up were removed, and I guess that maybe was coincided with brush hogging, or something along those lines. So it seems like we have in the past allowed the snowmobile club to access part of the fields in the winter months, obviously when there's snow on the ground, hopefully, otherwise we wear those things out pretty quickly. To continue on their trail network, and they rely on just the basically consent of owners to go ahead and use different properties all around town and all around the state, really. I don't know, maybe we should have a motion.
They're a good group, and if you have any issues with them, all you have to do is contact them. They'll take
Yep.
care of it.
So,
So there's further communication, there was an initial communication like, hey, can we do this? And then there was further communication saying, oh, we've actually had some further discussions with the principal of the school. And it seems like things, so maybe we should just designate the principal as the person who can make that decision for us.
sure. As long as those fields are ours to control in some fashion, that seems a reasonable, I completely trust our principal to make good decisions about the use of the property for the community and for our children, and keep all that in mind. So I would entertain a motion for the school board to designate the principal.
So I move that we designate the Dummerston School Principal, Joe Carroll Ratty, to work with the Snowmobile Club about safe and convenient access for all parties.
Ooh, very well done.
I'll second
Did you get the motion? Safe and convenient access?
For
Yes.
all parties.
Oh. Michael
Maybe
made the
not that kind of
motion,
party.
Jody seconded the motion. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
it. Aye.
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? The ayes have it. Whew, that was a long communication. Recognition of groups or individuals. Hello,
Aye.
BCTV, thank you. Finances. Oh, where are they? I didn't write down the number, I always do.
Oh, here they are.
I would entertain a motion to approve the warrants dated 12/7/2018 in the amount of $51,487.35.
So moved.
Michael?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the warrants dated 12/7/18, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? The ayes have it. It was great. We had them last week. It was lovely, so I wasn't scrambling to, thank you, Laura. I wasn't scrambling to look at them. It was very helpful. Committee reports. Anything from the food committee that you want to report?
They had a meeting,
Cheryl?
there's a lot of minutes from it. I think you may have gotten some of the email, maybe, from it.
No, I believe I did.
I didn't bring it with me. It's just kind of listed the things that they've moved ahead on.
Okay.
And that are going well, things that are still needing to be done. And just looking for a regular meeting time, once a month, so that we can continue the progress.
So there was some interest in having some student input for that, which it seems sort of an interesting idea. Maybe Emily's on that food committee, isn't she?
If she can make
Yeah.
the meetings.
Yes.
So maybe I'll ask Emily to see if she can facilitate a little bit of, because ownership really is a good thing, and involving students in something that affects them is a good thing too. So, if it pleases the board, I will contact Emily and see if she can facilitate some student involvement in that in some way. Finance committee?
Well, we held our last finance committee meeting before the last SU meeting, so that was after our meeting here, right? And we also met with the superintendent job description / evaluation committee, I believe it was called.
Yes.
I guess just process-wise, unfortunately, we had already, at the finance committee level, voted to approve the offering of a contract, and I don't say that with any derogation towards Lyle whatsoever, but just the process part of it was a little backwards. I think it would have been helpful for the finance committee or negotiations committee or whatever committee you want to call it, but in this case it was the finance committee, to have that input prior to making those decisions. So we did meet with the superintendent evaluation committee, and there is an excellent job description that was put together that will hopefully be really beneficial for both the superintendent and the school districts, or school district, whatever exists, to be able to continually improve and look towards benchmarks and certain things, and I think it's like light years ahead of what was already there, and I thank the superintendent evaluation committee members and the superintendent herself for the time and input and effort in doing that. I think the decision to engage the VSBA in this instance was a very wise one, and will benefit, not to pat my own back, but just to say that I think they provided a tremendous service in this case, and they should be commended, as should the members who participated in this, because it really provides a way for us, without having to do this continually. It's not like we have to every few years go and hire the VSBA. It seems like we have a very good framework in place now as a result of that work. So, yeah, and we approved the budget. That part, and we approved, the budget for the SU, which was ratified by the full board at the SU meeting.
And I should also add to that, that your two representatives on that committee did say to the finance committee, it would have been good to put the evaluation piece before the contract offering and negotiation. And as it turned out, there weren't big changes or comments on the evaluation form, so no harm done. But if there were, it would be an awkward, if there was some gross mistake that the superintendent evaluation committee had made, it would have put us in an awkward position of feeling like we hadn't evaluated appropriately, and then we've negotiated the next 3 years contract and trying to make that change. So there's nothing we can do about that now, but we did make that point, that it's better to do things sequentially.
I'm going to the SU budget. You say ratify.
Well, they voted.
Voted on it,
Well,
okay.
I mean, at the finance committee level, in the finance report that finance committee report that I'm giving right now, we voted to recommend it to the full SU board. And ratify is probably the wrong word. The full SU board did in fact vote in favor. It's
That's
not
what
a ratification.
I wanted that clarification.
Clarification is
Yeah,
very
thank
important,
you.
I agree, and so it is the full body that's vested with the authority to make that decision, and so it was the full body that voted for it. But prior to that, the week prior, the finance committee had voted to go ahead and send it up, if you will, for that vote.
And I would like to say that I thought you spoke very well on it at that meeting, Michael.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for
Mhm.
doing that committee, which is a heavy lift
Yes.
and might not be fun for everyone. So
Mhm.
I appreciate that. Any other committee reports? Because I kind of covered SU evaluation, nothing else going
How
on.
about transportation?
I just got
that's-
one in my head too, but there's nothing going on.
Is that a contract that for a number of years without price changes, or what's the situation with the transportation contract?
I believe we signed a 5-year,
It's what?
a 5-year.
At the same price?
For to and from school. The field trips is, I believe, negotiable, and Frank actually said today he's trying to set up a meeting with Cosmuscus to look at that again. For some reason, Cosmuscus thinks that they are the sole provider for field trips, and we are absolutely disagree
Yeah.
on that point, so we need to clear it.
I think we should be able to choose our prices.
Or our providers for field trips.
Well, I was a little confused because this is the first year of it, and this year's budget doesn't show such an increase. So I was curious, as Frank was saying, well, this is the first year coming forward, but we currently have them. And this year's budget was not significantly higher than last year's budget. But I guess that's a question.
I can speak to that a little bit, I think.
Oh,
I mean, Lyle's there as well, but I mean, I think that the answer is that really the core services, the to and from school, were almost identical, and they were a slight increase over the last year, and we were at the end of a 3-year contract, is that right? 3 or 5, I want to say 3, but I'm not 100% sure. That we were at the tail end of a contract that was very beneficial for the whole,
Right,
all the
last-
districts
last
year.
year, yeah.
And so I don't think you'd necessarily see it in the budget as much as you would see it in the actuals of what's going on
Right.
this year.
So we're gonna have an issue.
We're probably gonna see it in the actuals that come out, and looking forward to the, I don't know how it looks in the budget moving forward, but.
Okay. That's what I was afraid of. Okay.
But I mean, didn't Dummerston contract with a different provider for winter activities? Haven't we contracted with a different provider for winter
Yes, we
activity
have.
services?
Good.
Yes.
I think we should.
Yes.
West River,
Okay.
Good.
Yep.
Which is the only way we would be able to.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a big impact on each of the districts. If you can't do the things you're normally used to doing, you can't afford to do this.
So.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I'm with you now. So
Okay.
that was my concern. Is it that our actuals that we've misbudgeted because of the contract coming up? Not misbudgeted, but
Right.
we did the SU did the best they could budgeting with the information
Right.
they had, but now the contract is higher than that. And I can't remember when that
It's going to
transportation.
be curious to see what the new accounting and reporting system that the state has come up with, right? That needs to be learned, how that gets reported. And it would be interesting, I mean, like from a board seat perspective, it would be interesting to see how the core services work versus like contracted, services.
Right.
As opposed to like one lump sum transportation. And I'm hopeful that there would be a way to kind of, because I don't think that's unique to
Yeah.
I think I would hope other kids in other parts of the state are going on field trips and have,
I would
and if they're
yeah.
mandating that this particular financial system be the one that
Yeah.
all
I-
districts use.
Yeah. Yes, in case somebody missed that, they're changing, now that we've all gotten used to the new financial system, there's gonna be a new one, state mandated, at the cost of what? I don't know.
they do that to us all the
At
time.
the cost of personnel,
You
I
can't
don't
compare.
know. And then, school, the cost of education is going up, because you had to buy a whole new software package and reallocate everything, that's what I'm
And
looking for.
re-educate your people.
Yeah.
And don't send people to work with them, give a webinar. Every day I hear something new. The pilot, a number of school districts have dropped out because they just can't get it without having people come, but they won't send people.
When you say
It's-
drop out, I mean, are you allowed to drop out?
Well, during
of
the
it?
pilot you can.
Oh, okay.
When it finally comes into, like, we put ours off till the very last minute, which is July, so I believe by July 1, everybody will have to be.
At least maybe they'll get some of the kinks worked out by July
That's what
1.
our hope is.
Anything else on the committees? We're moving over the administrative report tonight to give ourselves plenty of time to review the budget. So, in unfinished business, I had spoken last time about the communication from Curtis Reed saying that he really liked our wording. I realized that we did not actually vote on the resolution outlawing slavery for all Vermonters. So I would entertain a motion to pass the resolution as a board. Would anybody like me to read it
Yes.
again? Yes? Whereas the state of Vermont is proud to claim to be the first state to ban slavery in its constitution, whereas the Vermont Constitution still allows enslavement, quote, after arriving until the age of 22 years, unquote, or unless, quote, bound by law for payment of debts, damages, costs, or the like, unquote. Whereas Vermont must continue to lead our nation in the fight for racial justice. And whereas the primary constituency of the Vermont School Board Association are Vermont residents under the age of 22 years, the age group specifically omitted from the Vermont constitutional ban on slavery. Be it resolved, the Vermont State Board of Education calls for a Vermont state constitutional amendment to prohibit slavery and servitude in all forms. Is there a motion?
Move that we accept the statement as written.
Second.
So used to writing Sue's seconding. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays and abstentions?
And are you taking it up tomorrow?
So I'll take it up tomorrow.
Good.
Something fun. So, oh, I can't believe I forgot it again. This is the adoption of our age of attendance for another year for kindergarten. Our third reading. No, it's not in here. It's not in. Oh, no, is it in our thing? In our new books.
It would be way in the back under local board policies.
Which is
Yes,
the-
yes, yes. So I will read it aloud because I have it. For the 1919-2020 school year, children who desire to enter kindergarten at Dummerston School must have attained the age of 5 years on or before January 1st, 2020 of the school year in which the child plans to enroll in kindergarten at Dummerston School. Those students who attended kindergarten at Dummerston School during the 2019-2020 school year and have attained the age of 6 years on or before January 1, 2021 may enroll at the grade 1 level. Do I have a motion to approve age of attendance policy?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second. There goes Sue.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of adoption of the policy, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays and abstentions? We are cooking today. The ayes have it. Pre-K update. So, Chloe Leary reached out to me this weekend. She'd been meaning to talk to me for a couple months about having Winston Prouty assist us in implementing our pre-K program, and wanted to hear from us what we needed. She thought she could do it. She thought that it was part of the mission of Prouty, and they could do this as part of their mission, meaning it would not cost our board anything because they're supporting quality early childhood education. So I said I would bring it up with the board and with Joe Carroll and try to figure out what we want to do going forward. But it's really great to have that resource. It's really great to have people, so many people willing to help out, do the work we're doing.
Is this any conflict at all with the WSU people at all to deal with somebody like Cory? Right?
I've also been in contact, been connected with a woman who's working as a preschool teacher now, who's offered to help with the process of getting licensed for preschool. We're in the process of trying to set up a meeting, but then hearing about this is great. Also met with the preschool coordinator teacher in Wyndham Central.
Northeast?
Northeast. Yeah. Again, offered services and met with me to talk, so, which is great, because I'm going to need help.
And the more information, the better, right?
Yeah, and the more, information's great, there's plenty of it, but people that are actually willing to help get the licenses and get the applications in and keep
Super.
us on that timeline would be great.
So I think our goal is to support you and have you figure out what resources, and we stand waiting to hear what you need from us to help you do that, because I know it's a heavy lift.
Yeah.
And I know they don't make it easy, because I've read through the regulations, so if we have people who can do it, who can help us do that, I don't think we need a motion for this. I see heads nodding. None of us are specialists in pre-K, so we'd love to throw ourselves in the mercy of the community at large to help get this show on the road, I believe.
And when do we announce that the show has arrived?
That's a very good question, Jody. Because I
People
am
are
getting
asking.
a lot of questions through the ether, this person. And I think we have to really, in January, have our ducks in a row. I mean, we'll be in a place where we know what our budget is, so we're absolutely certain we can do it or not. We'll be in a position where you're a little further along in the process, and we're sure we have all our ducks in a row in order to do it. And I think we have to do it in January because people have to start applying.
Because we got that request last meeting, that's why I was wondering.
Yeah. So I think we should be targeting January to come up with an announcement and parameters of admission dates, and so I think that's going to be a lot in our January meeting, as well as budgeting, to make sure that we don't miss out on the opportunity to have students in the program.
My thought was, once it got passed by the board in the budget, then we would just move as we would as a
Yeah.
program. I mean, the licensing, I see it as, getting a mortgage. They're gonna keep sending us back for things, and we're gonna keep going. It's just an endurance course. And once you get through it, you get through it. But there's nothing in it that would stop us, for heaven's sakes. I mean, we're a
Okay.
public school and some better outfitted than
A lot.
a lot,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
No, I agree.
ultimately they'll have to approve us.
I think that's reasonable. I think the possibility of it not going forward, as long as the board agrees that we're budgeting for it,
Yeah.
that's the only hurdle, and there's great support on the board for doing this, so.
Right. I see us will probably be putting the gates up in the playground in, August 1st, but, but that's not gonna stop us from having one.
Excellent. Any other thoughts on that, pre-K?
No, just maybe when we get to the budget or whatever, maybe a question I have.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, I need that time. Act 46 update. I look forward to the day that is not on unfinished business, I must say. So there is, on the VSBA website, there is now a webinar that you can watch, which is the interpretation of what is supposed to happen going forward.
We didn't get notification of that.
I know, I don't know why, well, they said it would be up when they canceled the webinar, the live webinar. So it's not a webinar, it's just the slides. They couldn't do the webinar, I'm sorry, there was an illness at the VSBA.
So you have to go to the VSBA to get it?
If you go on the VSBA website, there's a events
Slideshow.
tab, and under events, it says webinars, and it's, I think the top webinar
Okay.
is on that. So we can watch that. I suspect a lot of our January 8th meeting will be talking about that process as well. So if everybody could take a look at that. Flip through those 53 slides at your leisure over the Christmas holiday. I will not schedule a December 25th meeting, which would normally be our second Tuesday.
Mm.
I was gonna ask about
Is
I
that
saw
a
that on the
deal?
work, on your worksheet.
Well, I'm willing to make a deal. We skip the second meeting of the month if everybody takes a look at the webinar and considers that and our options going forward. And as so at this point, it appears, stop me if I'm wrong, it appears that the WSCSU structure will remain. Correct?
Yes, the
And-
state board made no determination on that.
So they made no determination on that. So in the warning appears to be Putney, Dummerston, Guilford, and Brattleboro are being merged into a unified union district. So we're responsible, a unified union district is responsible for the education of children pre-K through 12. So that's what we're doing under the umbrella of the WSESU because Vernon is a standalone district. So there are 2 districts now under the WSESU umbrella. So the interesting part about that is next fiscal year, Vernon will have 3 representatives on the WSESU board, and the unified union school district of Putney, Dummerston, Guilford, and Brattleboro will have 3 representatives. So that is the SBE's determination of what is transparent and accountable, apparently, is a $20 million budget. Vernon has half the vote, so they have like 7 times the voting power on that $20 million budget. So they're also talking though about merging us with, the state board has been talking about merging the supervisory unions. So then the story gets better there because they may end up with 3 districts there, and we would have 2 districts in Wyndham Southeast Supervisory Union, and unless something changes on SU makeup, there will be 9 votes from Wyndham Northeast and 6 votes from Wyndham Southeast. So it will be interesting times in the next couple of years. So we'll kind of have no power over anything if they merge the 2
Do you think they're
supervisory-
talking about Wyndham North and not Wyndham Central?
They're talking about Wyndham North because he said up and down the 91 corridor.
And they had talked about Wyndham Central and Wyndham Southwest.
Oh, they've been talking about that for a while. What about the high school?
What about the high school?
They're part of
That's
the-
part of it. It's getting merged too.
But where's it fit?
They're just part of the merged district. They're not their own anymore.
They're
Some-
part of Putney, Dummerston, Guilford, and Brattleboro?
Yeah.
But there's not a 5th one with a high school?
Nope.
There, somehow the high school just dissolves.
That's,
This high school board just dissolves.
Well, the municipality, it's a municipality, so not just the board, the whole
Yeah.
municipality, poof. Contrary to statute on the board on the books for 60 years, it just poofs. So it will be interesting times. Keep your, yeah. I'm sure it will end up just messing up everything. That's just how it's been. So, any other questions on Act 46?
Are they looking at that representation ratio?
You do not have to for SUs. Proportionality does not apply for SU representation.
Okay.
Never has. So Brattleboro has 3 representatives on the,
and we-
at WSSU, and so does Dummerston.
But that will change under this umbrella.
Right, we'll have, all of us
We'll have the
collectively
3.
will have 3.
And Vernon will have 3.
And Vernon will have 3. And then if we merge with Wyndham Northeast, we'll have 3. And then Vernon will have 3. And Bellows Falls will have 3. And Westminster, Athens, Grafton, assuming they get merged. It would be worse if, for us, in terms of proportionality, and it will be a bigger budget.
but you said, didn't you say 9 for Wyndham North?
I said
But that's
Rockingham,
6.
their own.
Rockingham is our own, so it's gonna be, yeah, and Rockingham.
Rockingham, Bellows Falls, and then.
So they would each have 3, Vernon would have 3, and then all of us would have 3. So,
And what do we do about superintendents?
I don't know, we just signed a 3-year contract with ours.
We were told not to do that, you know.
I didn't get that memo, I didn't get it.
Either, honestly, I didn't get that one.
I did not know that till you said that after we had approved that. It'll make it harder to be outvoted by the 9 votes coming from Wyndham Northeast if we have someone under contract for the next 3 years anyway.
Yeah, I don't know what Chris Pratt's got for a contract.
Anyway, that's enough speculation, but that's what they're planning, and they seem to be doing pretty well at what.
Do you
doing
think
this.
anybody knows what they're doing? No
I
names of
don't
that.
speculate on that.
What's next?
Any safety updates that should be done in open meeting, or is there anything that I should put on for executive session? I just like to put that on there in case there's any thought.
We might talk about it during the budget overview, like some ideas that Joe Carroll talked about today.
Okay. So, let me know if that needs to be done in executive session, or how we should handle that. Field transfer. Still not done. Still a lot of questions. This coming Wednesday is their budgeting meeting. The following Wednesday, I think it would behoove any and all board members to try to show up on the Wednesday before Christmas and see if we can't give the town of Dummerston a bunch of flat land on Route 5 for Christmas.
We have a new board member, so.
Yep. But the questions still seem to continue, that I keep, like, maybe I've got to do some other ways of conveying the information and use my very rusty education degree, because it just.
That's the 19th.
Can we just, one piece of paper with question, answer, question, answer, question, answer?
Yeah. Yeah.
The whole list?
I just think maybe if people showed up in, what's the status of other towns doing that? Putney's has gone through?
Putney's has gone through.
Yeah.
Green Street, Guilford was working on something?
Guilford's kind of falling apart,
Yeah,
isn't it?
they were working with a nonprofit, and the nonprofit had some issues with challenges with funding, and so that's done, that's gone.
Then was Academy was looking at something as well?
Academy's separating, the fire station is
Yeah.
on school land, so they're
Oh.
just separating that.
Okay.
What they're concerned about watching the meeting is if we end up merging, what happens?
I have answered that question. It's just successors and assign, like, so if all the contracts get taken over, that's a contract that gets taken over.
They don't seem to
I
understand.
don't, like, that's kind of, but, so I think maybe if there's an attorney in the house that could maybe help, or should we get a separate attorney? I don't know, like.
Do we have to warn it if we all go?
Yes, I will have to warn, so let me know if you're, because we'll be definitely
What's the date
discussing
of-
board
what's the
business.
date?
19th.
19th.
I'll go. Paul will go. Dan will go.
The snowmobile people might want to go.
Good point.
Yes.
6 o'clock, 6.
Snowmobile people, yeah. I can contact some of them.
And then you should go to 99 afterwards and eat, because on December 19th, we get 15% of all the profits.
Oh.
Oh,
99 makes that day, so if you're gonna buy
99.
gift
okay.
cards or
Ah.
decide to take somebody out for lunch, Wednesday the 19th is the day to do it.
The whole day?
The whole day. Do you need
Oh, they
the
have great
voucher?
fish
Do you need to
tacos.
bring the voucher? Just tell them. You need to bring the voucher. Where is the vouchers? Where are they? I have one floating around the house from my daughter.
Is that in the book?
No, it's a separate.
Oh,
No, it's not in the book. It's just. I thought I saw it last time. They're out on the table too, out there, and
Okay.
on the newsletter and on the website.
so we all need vouchers.
Probably on Facebook. Yes.
Because Stephanie was at the
I
Cotton Hill
almost think it's
selling
on
those
I almost think
coupon
Lori
books.
posted it on Facebook. I know, that's not that, it's just this
No.
one day.
I almost think Lori might have posted on Facebook. If I'm not
Okay.
mistaken.
I don't-
Excellent.
I don't have Facebook. I need a
That sounds like fun.
Okay,
If you have to run out of town, I can
So-
stop by and meet you guys there.
so
As
you
long as we
might
don't
have to,
discuss board business.
you might have to warn it then.
Well, I'll have to warn that part. If we go out, if we all go out to.
Yeah, you don't have to warn that.
You don't have to warn that as
Yeah.
long as we don't discuss board business, and I think we'd be perfectly fine not doing that. So I'll send around a reminder to everyone on that.
Might as well warn the meeting anyway. I mean,
Right, oh yeah, because we'll be an agenda, so yeah, so I don't have to send, I'll send an agenda as a reminder. Thank you, Michael.
Welcome.
We also have, I forwarded a letter for a tuition reduction request from a family due to extenuating circumstances, asking that we waive tuition, and a Dummerston teacher had written a letter in support.
Is that an executive session?
It is not an executive session because I'm not going to use any names and we have to take a vote on it. So my plan, if we need to go into executive session because anybody needs to understand what we're talking about, but I did forward the email. But we do need to have a board vote, make them, in one direction or the other.
I move we allow the 8th grader to stay in Dummerston for the remainder of the year tuition free.
Thank you, Jody.
Second.
With the understanding that is the extenuating
Extenuating
circumstances and in the educational interests of the child, as determined by the teacher, superintendent, and principal. And that there is no transportation provided, that the family is responsible for that. Any further
So
discussion?
moved.
Well, that's, I guess, part of the discussion. I don't think that has to be part of the motion. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? The ayes have it.
Who seconded that?
That was Michael.
Michael.
So we have a second one there.
I've had a brother all
Oh,
my
sorry,
life
yeah,
named
yeah,
Michael
yeah,
that
yeah,
I've
yeah,
called
yeah.
Mike, and now he's going by Michael now, so I'm having trouble between the Mikes and
Thank you.
Michaels.
I did the second one first and the first one later. So there's also a student, I forwarded a letter for a student that the family recently moved to Dummerston. They have been attending BAMS, want to finish out their 8th grade year at BAMS. It would be a lot of transitions for the child. We, if we wanted to, we could pay the tuition to BAMS. That's entirely up to our board.
Are we expected to pay?
We're not expected to pay the tuition, much like just happened in the previous situation.
I think it's in the best interest of the student. I move that we accept that.
Could I make a, just?
Go ahead. I'll take it back.
I just wonder if we want to say something about transportation to this family as well, that we won't be providing
Yes.
transportation for their child to go to BAMS.
We do not provide transportation for children who are attending a different school. So we don't, we're not responsible.
We're not responsible for
Yeah.
providing
No, we're
the
not gonna be
transportation. So,
responsible.
do you want to make the motion or
No,
should
you
I?
go ahead.
Okay. I move that we accept the tuition waiver of paying BAMS for a student who shall remain despite relocation to the town of Dummerston.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays and abstentions? The ayes have it.
So this will also be brought up at the VU6 meeting next week. And I'm going to assume that they will agree to have the child stay as well.
Excellent.
Do I have anything about policy books?
What about budget?
No, I
Wanna do
was just
po-
wondering if we could just.
Yeah, I get
check
that. I was
out.
thinking that too.
Let's just check that one off. You have your policy books.
Oh, yeah. Yes, you have your name on it.
They're
Yes.
beautiful. Thank you, Barb.
Yes,
Thank you, fabulous Barb. Thank you, fabulous Lyle, for getting us a policy book.
Yes.
So they're organized, you've got a table of contents in the beginning, they're organized just as they are online, and then local board policies are all in the back.
And what are all the little yellow pieces of?
That's just,
Separating
so
sections.
there's a section on policy, on board membership, then there's a yellow sheet on board procedures, and there's a yellow.
Oh, okay,
So
so
it just separates each of them.
You could put tabs on them.
You could put
and-
tabs
and
on them,
That
yep.
would be according to this, A,
Yep.
B, C, D.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So how often do we have to review policy? I'll be regretful that I have this manual now.
So that was part of the feedback from the evaluation, that we review policies more often than
Yes.
has been happening in the past.
Mm,
So at the WSCSU level, we will be reviewing them, a few policies at every meeting. If you'd like to do some local board policy review as well, we can put those in. We may want to pick it up after budget season.
Yes, no, that sounds appropriate, but I'm just thinking a 20-year-old policy should
Exactly.
probably be revisited.
For sure.
But at the SU, we had these policies.
Mhm.
They're supposed to come here too, for us to look at them. For example, the conflict of interest, we have changed that.
Mhm.
So what's the procedure on this now with us on those policies?
So, I feel like there are two things. One, if you want to make changes at the SU level, we talk about it here, and those get taken to the next WSESU board meeting as suggested changes. When you adopt it as a local board policy, you can change it to fit however it is that you want it here. It may not mirror exactly then the WSESU.
So because you brought these certain ones to the WSSU the other day, should we be considering looking at those after our budget season?
I would suggest you would want to look at them before the next WSESU meeting.
Which is when?
I don't know that the date was set, was
We
it?
did not.
Okay.
Yeah, because that'll be the second reading on all those, so, as we have done in the past, like, I've brought them back to the board to say, this is what we're looking at, this is the proposed. The ones we're looking at, is the proposed new policy in here, or are they just the existing?
The ones that we're looking at,
It's the
yeah.
Do you follow what I'm
Fire.
saying? Like,
firearms and the,
well, the Title I
firearms,
comparability policy, I know.
that was one that we were looking at, right?
So-
what does it say? Yeah, oh, no. So, no, what we did to pick out those was, go through and pick out some that have not been updated in a long time, some that are, like new, like the mileage one is new, but it should be done, and then some that have a few different things that need to be done, so that we're not looking at, like,
Right.
all the difficult policies
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yep.
Or what could be considered a policy that needs a lot of changes. So we'll just
Okay.
continue in that, looking at some that haven't been reviewed in quite some time, to some that are
Okay.
pretty, just changes in citations and everything.
So you have those policies that we looked at the SU level, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're all set with those?
no, I have them, and I just wondered if we were going to be looking at them, that's what for both the SU and
Yeah.
for us. Because we had talked about the firearms.
Our January meeting is getting kind of bogged down,
Well,
but,
Should be after, well,
but let me, just to give the board a chance to review the policies as a board is always good. So I will add that on sometime in January. Like maybe maybe the second meeting in January. It's a good thing to do the second meeting in January because it's kind of dry work and that way we don't have to use a whole lot of superintendent time. Also, we have our own conflict of interest policy, so I'll send
Yes.
that over to Barb.
and it should be in here.
Mhm.
It should be.
Yeah, so I will send that to Barb.
You guys spend a lot of time on that, so.
That was almost like the fields in terms of unfinished business, as I recollect. Oh, so I had a root canal today, but the good part of the day is I also get to have our first budget review. Yay! You didn't bring copies for everybody, did you?
Yes.
I've got mine
Oh,
on.
yay.
I brought mine.
I was doing mine on a smartphone, and I go, oh, yay. Look how much I love this.
I got one. Yeah, I got
Okay.
one.
I'll take one in Pittsburgh and
Is this one?
oh, thanks.
Are you going to go just through it, Christina, or take questions, or?
So I kind of thought Frank would be here.
Hmm?
Frank's not joining us?
Frank is not.
Okay, so we're on our own today.
Oh, so
You've got Joe Carroll and me.
I'm so, that was so
Last time
surprised
was
that
you
we
and
can
me.
do
That's
when we work
right.
together.
Last
So
time you
poorly
said
stated.
this was Frank's job, and you weren't gonna handle it.
This is year 2, so I'm making a step forward.
Oh, I love
Sorry.
that. Excellent. We've got the A team now, none of
That's
that
right.
Frank, okay. So, do we want to take a step through and,
I think probably Joe Carroll wants to point out a few things, like we did include the pre-K
Mhm.
teacher.
right,
Yeah.
and para.
And para, correct. Let's see if there are other things that I know she wants to point out. We thought maybe you would want to just point out a few
Yeah.
things first.
Yeah. So we went, this is basically without edits.
Right.
It sort of put in everything we had talked about. And it's level service, aside from the addition of the preschool teacher. So the increases are coming, although he has pulled the preschool teacher out as a separate line item, so the salary increases are just insurance and regular negotiated things.
I'm wondering about the contracted services.
Is that the
On page-
preschool contract?
Right at the beginning, that was 37, we approved a budget of $37,000. We apparently have a lot more, which is good, a lot more children in preschool in Dummerston than we forecast in 2018. 2019, we adopted a $39,000 budget. I assume that was based on some knowledge of who we kind of had
Yes.
in the, and so that 33,000 that we're proposing, if we're gonna be running an in-house pre-K, I would presume that
That should go way down.
that should go down somewhat.
It did.
But not much.
He came out first with 54,000 based on, so these are the kids that would still be possibly attending,
Right. Other
not
schools.
other,
Right, right.
other schools.
Right, 3-year-olds and children that didn't come here.
So I told him that we are expecting 9, possibly 10 to come here.
Okay.
Then he dropped it to 33,000.
So we think there are 11
Still in other schools?
still in other school, 3-year-olds then? I mean,
Maybe.
that are getting pre-K.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
but they would be staying there if they were
Right.
3-year-olds. They'd be
3-year-olds,
staying there
right,
if
so
they're
then this
4-year-olds.
number is good-ish, then, so let's do some 3-year-olds. Do we?
Times 3,400, so
That's the
10,
price,
so 10.
3,400?
10.
So it's only
Yep.
10. Okay.
And there's probably 10
Over
3-year-olds.
3-year-olds.
Well, I think one of the people who've contacted us are there, and they're thinking about coming here rather than going there, so you may find some other people like that.
And I wonder if, once we announce that we're actually doing the program, that may change this.
That's why we have to do it early enough for them not to have to put money down, so.
Right. But not for 3-year-olds, because it's a 4-year-old
Yeah.
program, so they're, so, okay, that was one of my questions. Para salaries are down on the first page,
Yeah,
so we're.
my question is, how many paras are we going to be having? That
This
are
budget should
regular?
include 7 paras.
7 regular? Okay.
Because the special ed paras aren't in here.
Yeah. None of them.
Because that's an SU budgeted
Yeah.
item. So then if we're if we're not having a para at that level, wouldn't the health number go down? I mean, it wouldn't go down, excuse me, because healthcare never goes down, but
It wouldn't go up.
it would, it seems like the loss of somebody taking healthcare would,
Because that's an extra
Well, that's
person.
elementary and,
That's actually an extra family.
right.
So what do you, where are you
Well,
talking
the
because
about?
healthcare is
their
up.
healthcare is going up a lot, no matter what.
14.5. That's a lot.
But 14.5 seems like more than the healthcare increase. Trying to figure out something I can look at.
That's 8.4.
Like if you look on a line item,
Don't look at middle school healthcare.
What page is that?
3.
Yeah, it seems like if we lose a para, we should, the healthcare should go down.
because the healthcare seems to be going up like 15%.
Where did we
on-
lose a para?
You said here, the paras have gone down,
There should be 7
Right here. But the-
paras in here, and
but the money's gone way down, so
Healthcare's
why has
doubled
the
in
money
middle
gone
school.
down unless you dropped a para? It's went from 152 to
yeah,
one.
well, the salary only
130.
went up. The normal for
First
secondary.
page.
It's getting too close.
It's
The
page
double-
3.
So down 22,000.
See, it's up 21,000, but if you look at the salary, it's not, so it's not another person or family, but it's double.
Down 22,000.
But it's funny because the actuals
And then the healthcare is up.
FY18 were
I know.
Next page.
that.
Isn't that weird?
So
So the
why was the
healthcare going
19
up with the para going down could just be a change in status of
8.14%.
a para. Yeah, that's my question, see,
Going
the
from
question
family
is,
to
was,
Oh,
do
okay.
we underfund it in NT?
Maybe somebody was getting healthcare through.
Well, somebody was getting healthcare through their husband and now
Okay.
not getting it through their
Okay.
husband, or,
Do you know
Or
if that's
spouse.
the case at all,
I,
or guessing?
I'm guessing it has to be the case, as those open enrollments are coming in now. But nobody shared it with me yet.
So that's a question for Frank.
Okay, now.
TV wants us
What's
to
that?
speak up.
Speak up.
So that's a question, that's a question for Frank as to what's going on with the healthcare numbers that are,
And it looks like, I wonder if it went up and then down. How many paras he's including in this?
That's the elementary. Do we
We're the only
separate?
place they are, I don't think he has them.
I was wondering if we separated them at all.
You know what I think he did? I think he took, I think 7 is what we have. He may have taken 1 out of elementary para salaries and put it into the pre-K para, which would account for it going down 22,000, this going up 20,000.
okay? That makes sense.
But it would be nice to get ask Frank.
Yep. I agree.
We must have changed HRAs because there's 2 of them and one of them zeroed out, so we must have done something with that.
Maybe that's the new, is that the new accounting system or something?
Not yet. Oh, that doesn't start until next year.
Everything's doubled up. It's like 2 lines.
Yeah. That's a Frank question as to what's going on with that.
Why?
Yeah, there's health, HRA, FICA.
I wonder if one is for paras and one is for teachers?
Probably.
That
Oh,
would
it could
flow
be,
through- Oh, I
yes.
meant the
000651.
Yeah.
651 are.
One of
651
academic
academic
support.
support,
Yeah.
okay.
Paras.
Yeah.
No.
But then the pairs underneath that.
So then the 000s are teachers.
But if you look, that's
But
became
the
0 and now
000
pairs
is
under
also-
121,000.
But the 000 is the
Right,
academic support teacher.
right, which is now 0. And then below it is the para at 000.
No, there's not para. Para isn't in here. I don't know where para is.
But he's looking at academic support,
Oh, okay.
651.
Right.
No, 0, para.
The elementary teacher is 0002.
Right.
It's
You need
000
one of those
as
mics that fit
well.
here.
And that's where the 651 has become 0. If you look over to the right, 651s have become 0.
So 651s, which are academic support, have become zeros.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so it must be coding me different.
or Frank will need to make sense of this for us. Enough time spent on that.
The other increase he talked about was on page 7. Said Michael might be able to talk to us a little bit, the WSESU assessment.
I was wondering about that.
That
Yes.
has 2 new positions in there, portion of the diversity position, part-time position.
There is
That's
a
1.5.
full-time and a half-time diversity coordinator position budgeted.
Throughout the district. right?
Yes, that should be, I mean, this is something that, that I think that, you know, my hope was that the diversity coordinator position could coordinate diversity efforts throughout the SU, because they went from, the positions went from being under the high school board to the full SU board, right? To be able to service all the schools. And my other hope is that there could be development of curriculum or integration of diversity throughout curriculum and work with other departments of the SU, specifically curriculum coordinator people, to integrate diversity more through the curriculum as opposed to the way the role was performed previously.
Yeah.
And so, while that may look different than direct on hands-on diversity workshops or things like that, there may be more integration throughout. My hope, at least, is that there would be more integration throughout the entire curriculum. How do we include diversity in this lesson plan? How do we talk about peoples that may have been overlooked? Things like that. So yes, that is part of the increase. The second part of the increase is probably the extra HR benefit coordinator position that has been advertised. So they are losing at the SU a long-time human resources, is that right?
Yep.
Human resources position, and will need to be rehired with a new person, but also there's a greater need at the SU to support benefits for the 700-something employees that's what we've been told, of the full SU, to support their health care reimbursement. So the magic numbers of healthcare going down, you know, possibly
Somewhat
getting money back,
paperwork is
apparently
increased
takes a lot of
exponentially.
paperwork to actually, they don't just give you the money. So there's going to need to be work that's involved in order to properly track. And, you know, Frank was wary of potential fines that exist if you misreport numbers, which,
That's a 14.5% increase for us.
One thing I think that we should be expecting from BUHS is that their budget would go down by that position, which was moved into the WSESU.
But that just seems like a little school like ours, that's a huge.
That's a huge
assessment
percentage for
increase.
us.
But you pay your
Right.
BUHS assessment. So for one of those positions, for the diversity coordinator and all the benefits that go with that, they came out of the BUHS budget that we all pay into. So assuming BUHS just doesn't fill that, it's moving from one column to another that we have to pay for.
Well, I hope you're not dreaming.
Well, I'm just thinking that that is a statement that we should maybe make to our BUHS representative, Rick Mills, and contact him and say it is our expectation that this will not be filled with something else, that by taking this off your payroll and putting it on the SU payroll, that position can't be filled. That would be our expectation. So all we can do is communicate it to Rick, which I am happy to do.
Do you want to do it before Monday?
But,
We'll
Do you
do.
want to do it before Monday?
yes, okay, meeting Monday.
Monday's next
Yeah,
budget.
but that's a big percentage, and
So,
I'm not happy with the SU going up that much.
so what did they, how much did the SU budget as a whole go up? I don't remember.
do I know off the top of my head? don't remember. I'm sorry, I don't have it with me. It
I
looks
don't
like
think-
Lyle may
What was
have it
the
with her.
question?
How much?
The question was how much did the full SU
To
budget?
see if that's in line,
Increase.
percentages in line with the SU budget increase.
I have an electronic copy. If you give me a minute, I'll be able to pull it up.
Yeah, that's fine.
And actually, it's worse on other schools because our portion of the SU is down a little bit because other schools, 2-year rolling ADM, blah, 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 that they figure your apportionment is down a little bit this year by a tiny percentage because other schools went up. So on a per pupil basis,
Is that what?
Actually, how many more students were we expecting to get?
So what was
Is
the,
that up a little bit?
no, but it's a 2-year back roll.
Oh, no, but just saying for, that we missed on them. I know we were getting more.
Oh,
so.
for next year.
For next year,
Oh,
if they all stay?
this year, yeah, well, this year.
so I have the draft budget, Lyle. Do you have the? It was the same. I mean, we didn't make any
We didn't make any
changes.
changes.
Okay.
So proposed budget program summary. It's a 4% increase in total
So
expenditures.
it's, they're only up 4%, and we're up 14.
Total expenditures.
So that doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make sense.
Mm-mm.
How can ours should be up,
I believe that's
Similarly
correct. That's on the
to that.
budget summary page. So
Okay.
bottom line of the
You're right,
budget
it was
summary page,
it was a
total
single digit. It
expenditures,
was the overall budget.
4%. It looks like income or revenues are up almost 5%.
but it could be up
But that's because
from
of
what you
Guilford.
paid
Yeah,
before.
it is.
What's
But we
your-
had a smaller percentage.
Well, the other thing, yeah, well.
20,906.
Right, which accounts for the 14%.
Does
Right,
that
but
affect
if the SU budget's only up 4%, how can we be up 14% because we didn't gain
We lost students
we
and
lost
other
a
people
couple,
gained
so our
students.
assessment shouldn't be up by that,
Like
I
the
mean, if it's up
apportionment.
3% or 5%, I wouldn't be as questioning it, but that's a huge difference.
So perhaps we could ask Frank to
Yeah.
review the apportionment with us next time. I'll take a look at the
Yeah.
SU, it's in that packet on the budget too,
Oh,
how
I
the
saw it, I
apportionment
couldn't
had.
remember what it was.
Yeah, so it's
so-
in
There's
there.
a sheet at
Yeah.
the top.
It's in there, so we can,
Just
This
what I'm
one's
trying to find right now.
the summary
Yeah.
sheet.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And so-
I didn't think it was a huge,
At the bottom for, like,
and then,
somewhere along.
yeah, 4% with
Yeah.
the expenditure increase, so it's only at 4%. 4.8 without.
I don't know if we talked about this, but Guilford has also wrapped their transportation into
Yes.
SU.
Yes.
And that's I'm sorry, I neglected to talk about that earlier, but the Guilford previously used their own buses,
Yeah.
and now they're using Cosmuscus and being billed through the SU, but the revenue is also both things are coming through the SU budget as opposed to being
But that should
just.
be a wash, actually. for-
It was,
in
but
fact.
except for the slight increase in transportation services.
Right,
you know.
but that doesn't account for
Yeah.
the part.
is there a percentage up or down?
So, let's see. This is last year.
That's an allocation. This is what you thought was.
And I forgot to get back.
So how is everybody else's, so the average,
Before those kids are-
everybody's
Oh, yeah.
up, but if the
You
budget's
don't
only up
have
4%,
This
this
But I
isn't,
can find it easily enough, and that day it's all just even.
it's a good Frank question.
I'll know when they enroll with.
And I'm
No,
glad you're
This
having
is
the
a
same
baby,
question, because
and
it's
then
like my
there's
math
other
is
child,
like, I
and
don't
the
think
other
that's a
child.
weird algebraic
All
equation.
hearsay, so-
No, it should be
From-
very.
from
front
Lori,
loaded.
I think.
I mean, it can be off of you.
She didn't know.
No, ours went up among the least of anybody.
Wow.
So other people's went
Oh,
up
yeah.
25%, so there's gonna be a lot of shrieking.
So the budget's up like $750,000 for this, for the full SU expenditures, right? So even in dollar numbers,
Well, is 20,000 and something of that
14,
equal to
our
14%?
share is, our share of the whole budget is, what is it? Our share.
Oh, that was the increase.
there's a,
The increase is that, but our percent share of the SU budget is 6.2%. Am I reading that
two-year
right? Yeah.
average proportion for FY20 budget is 6.2%.
Yeah.
So math whiz is in the room. Is 20,000 6.2% of 700?
Roughly so.
It's 1,000? 21,000.
Well, you've got
6.2 is to
20,906.
100, as 20,906 is to 700,000, right? My stoichiometric math.
0.62.
I think we ought to have, make sure Frank answers that one.
20,000 over.
Here, Joe Carroll and I are thinking we were gonna be so good
700.
tonight.
So, no, we have to do the 165.
Well, we haven't asked the right
Oh,
question.
165.
Yeah,
yeah,
We're not just
165.
WSESU budget, I don't know anything about that one. 23%?
Custodial salary, why is that up?
I did something wrong.
So the difference. Let's ask Frank.
Yeah, because he is
Okay, here are my, Frank,
But
Good, I was
his
keeping a
salary,
list here too,
This
so
is
here
his salary.
is.
based on
Yep.
contract negotiations.
where he filed, where he fought. Where he
Well, the two
fought.
healthcare lines
Yeah,
too.
I can't
Easy
talk
for
about
you to say.
Where he fell on the scale, right?
Yes, because he's
Okay.
coming in already on a district contract.
Okay, all right.
Continue.
Okay.
So basically, with our current service, we were up 4.25%. What got us up to the 8% was the additional preschool teacher and para.
Right.
Local teacher. The para was already,
Right.
so it's just the preschool.
Don't we
Well,
have some
and the
money somewhere?
assessment. Yeah, that's,
Yes,
the
that
tax
doesn't
rate
include
is a
it.
whole different ball of wax.
Okay.
Which might even be a whole different ball of wax, so remains to be seen. But right now, we're just concentrating on that which we can control.
I had a question on the nurse's salary.
Well,
Oh.
can we just go down, keep going straight down? Because I would like to have a quick executive session to discuss principal salary and compensation, so rather than talk about it now.
Okay.
That's protected by executive session. Custodial healthcare, I assume that's based on a new election of the new custodian,
Yes.
perhaps?
Yeah.
What page are you on? I'm sorry.
He's on
Page 8.
8 now, because he skipped the page that I wanted to ask him.
No, we're not up to nurse yet, are we?
No,
Yes.
we jumped over it.
The nurse was on
Oh,
page
is that,
5.
I'm sorry, I thought it was ahead of us, I'm
No,
sorry.
it's
I'm
page
sorry,
5.
Jody.
So she went horizontally and an increase.
Ah, okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
She's been taking courses.
Oh, okay. I hope she stays with us a long, long time.
Well, Ken has to maintain 2 licenses too, nursing and.
Okay. All right, then I'm on page 8 now too, so.
Sorry about that, Jody. Why is water way up? Oh, that's the actual? Like which one?
Where are you?
Water under the on page 8, water under the custodial salary?
I think it's because
Water
we're using
license.
a contracted service provider to do the testing until our custodians get the license that they
Okay.
need. So that, I think will stay up for a while.
And the electricity's down, I presume,
Should be.
because
Yep.
of the
Yeah, it is.
the contract, the
Yes.
solar? Excellent. Fuel oil is down as well, is that just reflecting current market conditions
Yes. For the weather.
or global warming?
Can't you see gas went down 11 cents, boom, overnight?
Oh, that was nice.
Transportation services are up, we know about that.
Where are you?
And I'm on page 9.
Page 9.
That's not a
Student
huge difference.
transportation.
No, it's only 2%.
Okay. What's the school district-wide 51 thing?
What page?
That's on 9 too. It's under debt service.
Oh,
Oh, there it is.
that's the whole district-wide budget.
For the proportion of the high school, isn't it?
Why do we have the whole district's debt service in our budget?
No, it's not debt service. The debt service
This
is
is the line above it.
Oh,
the line
okay.
above it. And then it's the district-wide expenses. And then, because it's weirdly split out, like elementary and then district-wide. So like the nurse, the principal are throughout the whole district, but then they break out the elementary and.
Oh, I see. I'm
So it's like
thinking
a
district-wide is a
subtotal.
wider district, I'm
Nope,
not thinking,
nope.
okay. No.
It's just an accounting thing.
And the regular programs,
So that's the cost of all of our regular, that's the cost of running the school this year. That's the subtotal of everything that came above it.
okay.
Like our WSSU expense is a district-wide expense, the nurse is a district-wide expense, and then they have the programs broken out into the elementary program.
Versus
and
middle school.
Versus a middle school program. One wonders why they want you to know that.
And the special education direct instruction on page 10, school pre-K, pre-kindergarten. Is that the EEE that we're part of here and we're sending students to?
You're on
Pre-K.
10.
special ed.
Those are special ed.
Pre-K kids.
Yeah.
And those are our students that are in special ed, or, well, is that being split among everybody?
I think these are your special ed pre-K kids.
Oh, really?
But it's right
Well,
here.
let's look, because that was another one that was in the,
Oh, on that apportionment.
On that,
Yeah,
yeah.
You found that page.
let me see. EE, Dummerston should be 54,684.
Yeah.
So it is allocation to districts.
It's allocation, not direct.
Allocation.
It's
So it's-
allocation.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, so the cost of special ed to pre-K is up a lot. SU-wide.
Hopefully
not good.
catching it early
Hopefully
so that
hoping
it
a better
doesn't.
pray it's better diagnosis. And earlier intervention.
Is there anything in here where our principal thinks we could cut?
I'm sure I can find something.
I know you don't want to. I think it depends on what happens in the end and what happens with,
I think it's helpful to have that tax rate
Yeah.
and that whole,
and
I'm not happy with the budget going up like this,
Yeah.
understanding that implementing pre-K is gonna be like, without our
Gonna be a bump.
ADM number, I think it's really important for us to hear what the tax rate would be before we ask Joe, like,
Yeah. Because this doesn't really say what the revenues are. We have better
No.
revenues coming in, it won't be as such a hit.
so when will we get that all-important piece, that first guess at the tax rate from Frank?
We're supposed to on December 15th get the numbers from the state. That
Yeah.
won't happen.
That won't happen. When do we have to, I don't have my budget timeline handy, when do we have to vote on the budget?
Well, it has to go to the town by the end of January, doesn't it? For the
For the town report, yeah, and what we've had to do in a couple of towns, because they've been so
End of
late.
January the 25th.
Yeah, we've had to put in last year's information in the town report and do a supplement.
Well, I think, for the January 8th meeting, we should, hopefully by then Frank will have guesstimate numbers, and in the meanwhile, maybe for Christmas.
I know we would have that extra revenue coming.
Right, so we have
Yeah.
that leftover revenue, so how, how this actually affects the tax rate is the most important thing, and I think we could talk about the things that have happened at the SU level, seeing what happens with BUHS numbers are gonna make a big difference, like if that $100,000 for the diversity coordinator has come out and moved into that budget and just, reapportioned, there's a lot to think about in that, so, but in the meanwhile, perhaps think about where we might try to do something.
And remember that there is no capital plan based in
I know.
And,
no food service improvements.
no food service improvements.
Yeah, no, well, there is capital, something, right? Where's the capital line under this?
Well,
We kept it the same, right? And it would be nice to put a little something into that, but it might not be a good year to do that.
Food service is the same.
Building and maintenance is at 40,000.
What
so-
page?
Sorry, page 8.
Building and maintenance is at 40,000?
Yep.
Yeah, which is the same.
Which I'd rather see that at, 50,000, that would give us something to do some work.
right. But a lot of that gets chewed up with just
Right, regular stuff.
regular maintenance,
Yeah.
like the toilets. and-
Right, that's why I'd like to get, I'd love to have another $10,000 in there, but where it's gonna come from, how we're gonna do that.
And I'm assuming that Frank realizes the postage is going up in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks.
I mean, when you have healthcare going up 15%, and you have salaries going up 3%, it's I'm hopeful that maybe we have enough money left in the budget, but
So I'll know that.
we'll table this and get our questions answered from Frank and get our numbers from Frank, and
What's your next meeting, so I can make sure? to-
January 8th, I believe.
Read Frank.
And hopefully the preschool kids will come from the contracted
Services, yeah.
He said that it's interesting though that with Putney and Guilford, they still have to end up paying
Yeah, that's what he said.
a lot for kids that are privately going to preschools.
So the net effect must be more kids are coming into pre-K. Some kids were not in pre-K before, or not in qualified programs,
Right, that were not, and were not, they were
which is
nothing.
good,
Yeah.
Because they've
which is
got a
good
waiting
for the
list or
school and good for the
whatever.
kids and good for our special
Yeah.
ed numbers long-term.
And you said Putney and Guilford, right?
Yes, they
Because
both have
Putney and
pre-K.
Guilford.
Because Putney is close to the
Grammar school, yeah.
The grammar school, and they have a whole lot of kids that are going to private schools, one way or another, because there's so many schools in their area, in their district.
And Janice was talking to me too about Putney is looking into some grant opportunities
Mhm.
for bringing 3-year-olds into their program or
Mhm.
somehow contracting with them, but needing another school to sign on with that we may get some benefit from that if Dummerston were to do that with them, even though the kids would go to the Putney
Oh,
program.
Oh, so,
Tell
But
me
I've only
more.
talked to Janice about it, I haven't, Herb and I haven't spoken about it, but, we've done a couple like nods, yeah, like, whatever, that sounds good, we benefit and don't have to do anything. So I can find out more about that too.
do you feel like how we fund our schools and how you get money to do things is sort of like an Indiana Jones kind of
Yeah.
movie, like you have to find the
There's the bake
secret
sale that-
amulet, get the secret amulet, and so Lyle has for questions for Frank, healthcare, the 2 different healthcare lines, paras, how many are we budgeted for? Page 1, academic support going to 0, our percentage of the SU budget, and district-wide subtotal, what that actually includes.
One final question, copy machine, is that
Oh.
really line on page 2,
Page
the
2.
very, very bottom? Were we gonna work aggressively to curtail copy machine fees? I mean, it's a
Yes,
small
and we're
number, but.
right in the process, I've just gotten 3 proposals
Oh.
for putting these copiers on the same contract as the district copiers, which is supposed to save us a lot of money.
and we were going to get numbers or something. so we
Yes, and
know
this proposal has those numbers in it, but up till this date, it's just been stop copying in colors, which,
Yes.
I mean, compared to the
The crayon's
14,000,
made for.
we have small children that can come. But our FY18 was 14,000, so at 11,000, it's actually an improvement over the actual. So it's a little, even though it shows as an increase percentage-wise, it's actually budgeting for a decrease versus the FY18 actual. Do you follow what I'm saying
Yeah,
there?
yeah, I get it.
Oh, I
Yep.
see, yeah.
You smell what I'm stepping in there? Okay.
You're skipping a year.
Because you gotta look at the actual, not the fact that we didn't have that actual number when we budgeted 2019, so we're like, 9,000 sounds good, and then that's what started the whole conversation was our budget review going, what, 14,000? We were $5,000 over, so that's what started the conversation about, wow, that's a lot of money in copies.
This new proposal, which I think puts us in line with other schools, does have that, I don't know if they call it die cut or something, that would track it by person.
You gotta put a code.
Yes. So we can
Scans
find the
on.
culprits.
And it turned out to
And
be the
track
school
them down.
board.
I didn't
Well-
copy anything tonight.
But as a district, as a staff, one of our goals is to just reduce paper. So a lot of stuff is going in Google Docs and Google, and trying not to sort of disseminate everything in paper copy.
So I have for follow-ups.
And
I'm-
we
sorry.
need the revenue or something, Frank, too, did you have that?
Yeah, oh yeah, do the whole cover sheet, yeah. Yeah. Finish the,
And in the meantime, we'll meet and look at deductions. And make recommendations.
what we can do.
Well, we're not required to have transportation. It's a good way to get people to come and vote for our budget.
Or sports.
Yeah? We're not required to have sports? Oh, we have to have sports, that's part of the education.
So I have as follow-ups for me, I'm gonna email Emily about including children in a food committee meeting at some point to give them that opportunity. Sending out an agenda for next Wednesday's select board meeting. Gonna set some policy review into our work plan and update the work plan with that. Gonna send Barb the conflict of interest policy and send Rick Mills we're all gonna send Rick Mills a little note saying, we do expect that diversity money that's come
Oh,
out of
we're
the
all
budget.
gonna do that,
Why
okay.
don't we?
All right.
You can at
Gee, I
your
was just
own-
sitting next to him, I could have done it today.
Okay, yeah, well, however, oh yeah, well, there may be another game between now and Monday. That would be an expectation to understand that we've moved money out of the budget, so don't do that in whatever other.
And that's only
question.
one person, we have to put a 1.5 person in.
Exactly.
The SU.
Yes. Is there any other business before we move into executive session? Under 1 VSA 313 to discuss the evaluation of an employee. Then I would entertain a motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? The ayes have it, and we'll move into executive session.